I am currently underway motoring. It's very hot, so I'm wearing this towel around my head, also to protect my shoulders, also because it looks so cool. I know that it doesn't. Someone has very kindly offered me their mooring to use for the next week or two with my boat, located in the Tamaki River. And there's absolutely no wind, but today is the day that I am moving onto it, so I'm just motoring. My tiller pilot is acting up again, so I'm hand steering. I have been looking for a safe place to leave Geck because my mom is coming in 3 days. We're gonna rent a car and do some road tripping around the North Island together, so I really wanted a place to leave my boat that was really protected because the wind in the Auckland Gulf is just all over the map, so it's kind of impossible to find a safe anchorage for more than about 2 days in a row. I made it through the little sandbar entrance and never saw less than a meter under my keel, which is awesome. I didn't really know what to expect of the Tamaki River, but it's actually super cute with this little beach and then all of the boats on moorings. Something that I learned later is that almost every single one of these boats is not a liveaboard boat. It's the only weird thing about cruising in New Zealand. I'm so used to being in places where every boat is a liveaboard cruiser and the anchorages are just full of people zooming around in dinghies and friends, and then in New Zealand, of course, it's a country where people live in houses and own boats. So a lot of the anchorages, you're just the only person living on a boat full of empty boats, and it kind of feels like living in a ghost town. It's a bit of an eerie feeling, but anyway, really nice location. Picked up this mooring and no problem, and now ready to go ashore. Snagged the mooring, nice and easy, not too much wind blowing me off. Now I'm just going to turn off the engine and then do a double bridle situation and run the lines through the fair leads. But the first thing I always do is just get a line on it so that I'm attached, and then once I'm attached I can fiddle with everything else. So my engine has still got this cool starter situation that is vice grips, but it is on the list of things to fix, is to replace that guy. Alright, I'm double bridled up. As you can see from where the mooring is, it's a bit of a wind against current situation, so my boat is lying more to the current than the wind, but it looks like every boat is doing that. Hashtag river life. So, hello! I am starting on my giant list of boat projects today. So the first thing that I'm doing is refinishing my Galley countertops. This is just a piece of marine ply that I cut out and put over the old countertop when I was redoing my boat. So I took a piece of, I don't know, some sort of nice wood my dad had lying around in his workshop. I cannot remember what it's called. It was 5 years ago. And I cut it out to shape because I also put in a different sink and I changed the freshwater and saltwater pumps. Basically everything changed about this countertop besides the opening for the ice box. And then I just epoxy coated it, which worked great until about a year ago. It started to come off in the place, the exact spot where I put down my cup of tea and my cup of coffee. I guess the heat of that has destroyed the epoxy, so kind of there's a bald patch, and then around the sink where it's often wet. So I'm just going to sand that down and refinish it. Welcome to my engine binder manual slash also where I keep my sandpaper. Here we go. Next on the to-do list is re-terminating the end of my anchor chain rod where it connects to the chain. So this is what it looks like right now. Really sketchy. Pretty much the thimble is completely rusted out. So I'm gonna cut this end off, and I have a new thimble and I bought a fid that's the right size at the hardware store today, and re-terminate that so everything is shiny and happy. To cut it, I'm using this rigging knife. It's a relic from my tall ship days. It was handmade by this guy named Mud who lives in Maine, and he makes them all by hand. Pretty cool. And it comes in this. This was my like, oh, I work on tall ships thing, so it has my little marlin spike. My dad made this marlin spike, and then everything has little lanyards on it, and it had the belt that you wear when you work on a schooner. But it's a very sharp knife, and it is probably the best thing that I have for cutting this line. So I've done a lot of splicing of 3-strand braid stuff. I've never done a polyester core splicing, so I'm just watching a YouTube video and following along as I go. There's a lot of great ones out there. I don't think it's that hard of a thing to do, but it's important that I do it right because it is my anchor. One thing I will say about splicing is that they make it look so easy in the stupid splicing video. And I bought a fid that was the right size today, so that that's where I put the that's really funny. There's a front-facing camera on my GoPro. I've been looking for this Sharpie for the past 20 minutes. But they're using a needle also in the video, which seems like it would be a lot easier, because I'm just kind of trying to stuff the core into the, I don't know, it's a mess. I think I'm getting there, but it's a lot of elbow grease and a lot more time than I thought. So basically, I've already done this part. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just blindly following the YouTube video. Now this needs to go back into here, but the fit is too big and not long enough because it needs to come all the way out to here or something. So the needle that I don't have, that seems pretty necessary to pull this through this, is sort of something that I definitely need. I dicked around a little bit longer with the fid trying to make it work for this splice, but ultimately realized that I was going to have to get the proper tools for the job. So I put this job to rest, and basically I don't really need to use the end of this road as long as I don't anchor in water that's too deep, and eventually was able to borrow some of the proper needles from someone and get this splice done. But basically this was an exercise in futility, patience, and yeah, you can't always get what you want if you don't have the right tools. I'm here on my boat with my mom. She just flew in yesterday, and I did promise that I wouldn't put her to work too hard. So the only thing that we're doing together is that she's gonna send me up the mast so that I can measure for a new mainsail, which is very exciting. So we have our little diagram. So I'm going to measure, obviously, the 3 dimensions of the sail and then where each reef point lies, because I really like where my reefs are. And then that's pretty much it. But to get this measurement, I've decided the most accurate way is if I climb up the mast with a tape measure and measure down it, because lines stretch and I want it to be very precise measurement. All ready to hoist me up the mast?
Ready to do it.
Here we go.
Put on my sunglasses.
So the bosun's chair that I'm using is one that someone gave to me. It's this brand. I really like it because it's just a piece of fabric. And it used to have this little safety belt thing in the front, but I cut it out because it was really annoying. So it just has this thingy, and it doesn't have the between the legs thing because it's sort of, I don't know, maybe it was made for a bigger person. And then if I want to attach any tools or anything to the bottom of it, I have this loop. Otherwise it just, oh no, that doesn't even go in front of you. This is what you attach the halyard to. So it's just an open face chair.
Good thing it has a thingy. Thingies are so important.
Yeah, it's just really easy to use.
Look, you've got a pocket.
I think I'll put the tape measure in the pocket. I doubt the snap works.
No. If it did, you'd never get it open.
I was
up
gonna
there.
say, please
like,
don't close it. It will never open again. Oh, and it also has...
Oh, you could put something in there that would fall through.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Pockets for your lipstick and stuff.
It's a little, for a miniature hammer. So that if you get scared, you can put your fingers in and be like, ah!
Hold on.
Hold on to your butt.
Alright, I'm gonna put the tape measure in the pocket.
Okay.
It's the only part that matters.
Rolling, take 1. This looks so exciting.
My mom hauled me up to the top of the mast, and I measured down in increments of 5 meters because that was the length of my tape measure. Yes, I could have taken the sail off, brought it ashore, and measured it, but the anchorage where I was I was a mile from shore in a river with really strong current, and it was very difficult to get ashore, so I tried not to do it too much. And this way I was also able to do a rig check while I was up there and had someone who was capable and I trusted to pull me up the mast. So I kind of got two birds stoned at once with this whole situation, and I was able to get a really close look at exactly how destroyed my old sail was. Okay, that's probably good.
Okay, I'm gonna cleat you off.
Thank you. My mom was only able to visit me for 6 short days, and I didn't really film while she was here because I was just kind of taking a holiday. But her and I rented a car, did a little road trip around the North Island. We hit Rotorua, which of course is a must-see with all the beautiful bubbling mud. We picked up a toilet, very exciting, and just had some really nice mother-daughter bonding time, which was definitely pretty needed for me anyway. I love seeing my mom. She usually comes out to visit me about once a year, and we always just have an amazing time wherever we happen to be. I am back from the week with my mom, and it just passed ever so quickly. I didn't really film with her because I was sort of on vacation, but we did do some things together to forward my boat projects. So while I was with my mom, I picked out a new toilet. I made a post in a New Zealand sailing group asking for a toilet if anyone had one for sale. I have the vacuum toilet, and at first I really liked it, but there's a lot that I don't like about it, which turned into hate and angst. Mostly that no matter how much you flush it, the water, because it's vacuumed, the water goes up the little hose at the end. Obviously it has to go all the way up and then down again to make a vented loop so it doesn't siphon back into the toilet. But all of that water falls back into the toilet when it refills with water, so it always has a funky smell to it, and no matter how much I clean it, that smell doesn't go away, and I just hate it. I clean my toilet 3 times a week and it always smells like it's dirty, and I just think that's kind of gross. And then the other thing is that it's really hard to dry bowl it because you have to wait for the suction to go away and then open the lid, so that's about 45 seconds. Otherwise, when you're sailing, if the toilet bowl is full of water, when it unsuctions, all that water spills out of the toilet onto the floor if you're sailing really hard, which I do on occasion. So I usually just don't use my toilet when I'm at sea, but that's silly because why bother having a toilet? And the other thing is that the lid, this is the second time the lid has cracked since I've owned it. I've already replaced it once. And yeah, so I just don't like it. And I like to have a toilet where people can come onto my boat and know how to use it. So I just wanted one of those Jabsco pumpy handles, switchy, flicky things for so many reasons. Mostly the dry bowl reason, and I just want to have a toilet that when I clean it, it's clean. So anyway, long gripey story about my toilet. This man named Scott, who lives in Rotorua, reached out to me, and he said he had a toilet that he would give me. And my mom and I road tripped through Rotorua, and I met him and we went out for a coffee, and he gave me the toilet from his boat because he took his out and installed a composting head, which is also a very cool idea. And so now I have this beautiful, like, it looks brand new toilet that he has looked over and made sure everything is perfect on it. Here are my 2 toilets. Welcome to the bathroom. So the most important thing is that it is gonna fit width-wise. I didn't exactly measure it, I just assumed that it would work because I figure grins have this type of toilet more than they have this type of toilet. It's significantly lower than the other one. Well, maybe not. The base starts here. I feel like this one's kind of a high toilet, but I do like the height of it. So the one thing is just the base sizes are quite different. But what I'm thinking I can do is that these bolts, which are extremely rusted and probably very difficult to get off, are threaded up through this metal piece that's on the base. So all I need to do is get a piece of wood that I can cut to fit this base size, bolt that on, and then bolt the toilet on top of the wood. And I think that should be fine as long as I center it properly. This is a pretty thick base, so even if it hangs off either side, the majority of it, like if this can be kind of centered over this guy doesn't really need, it's not like it's taking that much weight, so I think that'll be fine. So I have this big thick cutting board piece of wood that I'm thinking will be a fine toilet base. I don't really see anything wrong with using it. I mean, obviously it's joined together and it's little pieces and probably it's not the perfect thing, but you know what? It is something that I have right now. It's nice and thick. And then I'll probably put another coat of paint on here. I've made a list of all the hoses and fittings I need, and I'm gonna make a run to the hardware store to pick all this up and then install the new toilet. It would appear, whoa, this is what I'd look like if I had short hair. Hello. So 2 of the bolts came off very nicely with the crescent wrench. I can't fit a ratchety badil in there because there's not enough space. 2 of them are quite rusty. One I got off with vice grips. The other one is proving to be a little difficult, and it's also in kind of a hard to reach place, but you know what? That is life on a boat. It's all about rusty bolts, rusty nuts, rusty nuts. Somehow there's been corrosion between this metal plate and the toilet, which has actually caused the toilet to, the base to push up so that it's like an extra super lock washer, which is making this rusty nut really hard to get off, man. You can actually see the space where the corrosion is pushing this up, so I might have to clean some of that out to relieve the tension before I can get this last nut off. Oh, save me from myself. We are at the PV blaster phase of things. I'm just gonna squirt that nut and let it sit for a bit, see if it'll... Nope. Alright, this morning I'm putting the first coat of varnish on the cutting board, which is going to be the base of my toilet. So I have it all sanded down, wiped down with acetone, and now I'm just going to put this, I'm using this because it's what they had at the hardware store, and I'm using it also to finish my Galley countertops. I've put a trash bag down on the cockpit so that I don't get paint on it, and it's a beautiful sunny day, so should be good for just doing a bunch of varnish work. Okay, I'm not using white, I'm using this. I opened the can and I was like, why is this varnish white? It's because I grabbed the wrong can. Yes, whatever this is what I'm using. I think this is good shit. Last coat of varnish is going on the base. I have been to the store and I have all the hoses and hose clamps that I need. I've just turned off the 2 seacocks to the toilet. I've dry bowled it as much as I can. And the next step is to get all the stuff out of this locker, all the toilet paper, paper towels, and take the head off, dismantle it. I finished the toilet at 11:30 last night. It was one of those days where I was in and out of my boat a lot doing other things, and this is the finished product. Well, almost finished. Here's the new toilet. Toilet base, and I'm also gonna add an anchor to the back of this because it, well, I can't do it now, but it does lift up a tiny bit and I want it to be more stable. Now the way the hoses ended up working out is that this one, I was able to just make this hole bigger and get it through under here. This one, I could have made a whole separate hole for it, but the toilet is actually sitting higher because it's on this base, and so I need to cut the door down anyway. So I thought, why don't I just lead this over here, and then I'll cut the door down, take the piece that I cut off, attach it permanently to the bottom, and then the top of the door will just swing out. This is just a really hard to organize locker, so it looks messy, and it probably is, but it's also kind of not, so please don't judge me. And so what I'm doing right now, this is the door. I just measured 6 centimeters. I'm gonna cut this off, attach it to the bottom, and then this will swing out and over. And it's still a good way below the hinge. That was the important part. So I'm just gonna double check that this is all I need extra because I can't make this cut twice. But yeah, I'll just cut it with my hacksaw and paint the raw edges with varnish. It's another good varnishing day, and then install it. Okie doke, everything is cut down, so you can see I made a little hole in the piece that I stuck underneath for the hose to go through, and now the door is high enough that it clears the toilet, so life is good. I already love the new toilet with all of my heart and soul. There were a couple things that I did with my mom besides the toilet. So the other one was to pick out some new fabric for my cushion covers because I'm re-sewing them. These things are just so old. So when I picked out the fabric for my cushions back in Maine 4 years ago, I wanted something pretty and none of the upholstery fabrics were pretty, so I went with a printed canvas, and my dad told me it's not gonna hold up very well, and I was like, I don't care, this is what I want. And lo and behold, after about 2.5 years, it started to get super old, and now one has a rip all the way across it and they're all faded out and ugly and stretched out. Oh, hello, I'm Marie Antoinette. So I went to the store with my mom, because it's always more fun to pick out these things together, and kind of went through the same thing where I thought none of the upholstery fabrics are fun. I don't want Sombrella for inside because to me it feels like an outdoor material and I want inside to be cozy. And I was really drawn to the printed canvases, but I was like, not again, self. So I ended up with this really beautiful sort of like soft velvety green color, which surprised me at how much I liked it because I always thought I wanted a pattern for the Geck, but the upholstery patterns just, I don't know, it's hard to find a good one. The next step there is to find somewhere to sew it. I'm going to use the same bottoms that my cushions currently have because it's this really thick fabric that hasn't seen any wear and tear, so there's no reason to replace that. I'm going to reuse the same zippers, and I'm going to pick apart the seams of one of the cushions to use it as a template because they're all identical. And then I need to find a place to sew them. So yesterday I spent about an hour and a half unpicking all the seams of my cushion covers. I unpicked all the zippers and I unpicked all the bottoms. And I've made a new friend, Anna. She also has a boat in Auckland and she has very generously offered to take me to her sewing machine that she has through the yacht club. I'm here in the place where I'm able to sew my cushions, and my friend Anna has just been so lovely. It was her day off and she took half the day and helped me get everything set up, get into the building, set up the machine, sort of remember how to use a sewing machine. She helped me with the measuring, and she's just taken off. I'm all set up to go now, so I'm just gonna bust out. Hopefully I'll be able to do one of the 4 cushions today, and then I'll come back tomorrow and likely be able to finish the other 3 and hopefully do all the smaller little back cushions as well. Today was mostly just about setting everything up, measuring everything out, cutting stuff, and getting myself prepared.
Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above the door, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself.
It's another glorious morning on the Geck. I got in last night pretty late. Ooh, there's sun behind me. And so I've managed to finish one of the cushions by 4. It took a lot of time to set up the machine, figure out the measurements, get everything cut up, get all my tools gathered, and then by the time I actually got down to the sewing part, it was almost the end of the day. Wow, this is the rolliest anchorage. My God, every time I'm here on my boat, I think to myself, today's the day that I leave, because it's just constantly rolly and it's so annoying to try to work on my boat. But it's really hard around Auckland to get a flat anchorage. This has been 3 days in the making, but I'm finally back on my boat with all of my cushion covers sewn. So next I'm just gonna throw these puppers on and we'll see what the Geck looks like. Okay, here it is. Thanks for watching this week's episode. I put up new episodes on YouTube every 2 weeks on Mondays, and for my patrons, you guys get a snack on the weeks that I don't put out full-length video. Thank you so much to all of my patrons and all the people who donate to my PayPal. I really couldn't do this without you guys. You're my main source of income. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/windhippie. For one-time donations, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/windhippie. Merchandise, this is all in links in the description below. If you want to buy Wind Hippie swag, you can check that out there. Thank you, Tish, for being my manager, reminding me when I need to edit these videos and send them off to her, and making sure that they get up on YouTube for you guys so that you're able to get a glimpse of me every 2 weeks. I have coffee on the boil. I'm just reheating it. It's in this pot. So I keep glancing over. And thank you guys for all of your lovely comments. I do love reading them, and I respond to them whenever I have internet, whenever I'm able to, but it just gives me the warm fuzzies of how nice this community is. So anyway, without further ado, I will see you guys on YouTube in 2 weeks, and my patrons, I'll see you guys next week with a snack.